Hey guys, welcome back to the How Fat Loss Works series. And we've kind of been through 4 episodes talking about the physiology and biochemistry of how fat loss works. And by now I'm sure a lot of you are like, all right, this is great, we're learning a lot, but how do we actually do this? Like, how do I, as a coach and for myself, set up a fat loss diet? Excellent question. And the first step is we need to determine what your maintenance calories are. Now, I already have a video on this, and I'll link it above, so you guys can check out the video on maintenance calories. Now, the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of calculators out there, okay? A lot. Most of them will get you in the ballpark. A couple of the ones I prefer are the Mueller equation and the Ketch-McCardle. For the reason that they use lean body mass as one of their inputs. Specifically, the Mueller uses lean body mass, fat mass, and age and sex, which I feel are probably the 4 most important variables. Other ones like the Harris-Benedict, they use height and weight, which, you know, are helpful, but at the same time, like, lean body mass is the most major determinant of your metabolic rate, that and genetics. So I feel like that's a very important thing that should be involved in these equations. So I personally prefer the Mueller, and you know, in my upcoming book, I have a contest prep book coming out. I talk about all these different equations, so you can check that out, or you can look up the Mueller equation. So we need to find our maintenance calories. Now, what if you are kind of outside the normal? All right, these equations don't work for you, or you just don't want to use them. Well, in reality, these equations are only estimations. Remember that, okay? So they're going to estimate what your BMR is, and then they're going to add an activity factor to it. Now, again, that's an estimation. That may be off by several hundred calories per day. Well, you can do it yourself. The best way to determine your maintenance calories is to track your nutrition intake and see what your weight does. So if you are tracking and you're weighing yourself every day, I recommend weighing every day, first thing in the morning, after using the bathroom. Weigh on the same scale in the same place, and take the average of those weights for the week. And if you look over 4 weeks and you're mostly maintaining your weight on whatever intake you're on, you can be relatively assured that those are, for all practical purposes, your maintenance calories. Or if you were losing, like, you know, around a pound a week or half a kilo, that's about a 500 calorie deficit. Now, I'm gonna have, like I said, in my new book coming up, I talk about this stuff in detail and break it down in absolute minutia detail. That's beyond the scope of this video, but you can look up and see kind of what calorie levels equate to what. So I prefer doing it that way. I prefer tracking, finding what my maintenance calories are through tracking. I know for me, about 27 to 2,800 calories is my maintenance. Maybe up around 3,000 or 3,100 if I'm doing a little bit of extra activity. But on my off days, if I'm not training, my maintenance calories are around 2,800. And I know that just from tracking for so long. And many of you who have been tracking a long time, you will know your maintenance calories. The next step is calculating your deficit. Now, this boils down to how quickly do you want to lose body fat, all right? Keep in mind, the faster you lose it, the more you're risking losing lean body mass. And lean body mass, obviously, for most of us, is what we want to keep. It's also very beneficial to our metabolic rate. So we don't want to be losing a lot of lean body mass because, in addition to all those other negative effects of losing lean body mass, if you lose more lean body mass, it increases the likelihood that you're going to regain body fat post-diet. And hopefully, we'd like to maintain more of the fat loss that we create. So, how do we calculate a deficit? Well, it's very simple. We're going to subtract whatever deficit calories we want from our maintenance. And that gives us our average daily deficit that we want to hit. Now, how fast should you lose weight? There is some evidence, especially in natural competitors, and I talk about this in my book as well, that if you lose more than 1% of your body weight per week, that you start really tipping the scales towards a lot more lean body mass lost, okay? So in most studies, they show about 20 to 30% of the weight you lose is from lean body mass. Keep in mind, again, lean body mass, not the same thing as muscle. But if you go up to like start to approach that 1% per week, you get more into the zone of you lose almost 50% of your weight from lean body mass, okay? That's obviously something we avoid. So I tell people, I like to keep it under 1% of your body weight loss per week, all right? In fact, I prefer more like 0.4 to 0.8% of your body mass loss per week. So for me, I'm about 93 kilos. If I wanted to target like, 0.5% of my body weight loss per week, that is 0.9, doing quick and dirty math, that ends up around 0.65 kilograms per week, which is right around a pound a week, all right? And that is a pretty reasonable rate of loss for me. If I wanted to bump this up and go to, 0.75, that would take this to, a number that's about, 0.7 kilos per week. That's fine too, but basically whatever amount of weight you want to lose, you need to look at, okay, how much weight do I want to lose in what time frame, okay? And do I want to incorporate things like diet breaks or refeeds? Because if you incorporate diet breaks, like I talked about, you can maintain more lean body mass, maintain your metabolic rate better, but it's going to take you longer. Me personally, if I'm just trying to get leaner and I don't have a specific goal to shoot for, I'm going slow and I'm incorporating diet breaks, okay? But maybe you have something coming up in 8 weeks that you want to be ready for and you want to lose as much fat as possible. Well, that's okay. You're going to need a more aggressive deficit. Maybe you're up close to that 1% mark per week. But keep in mind what the downsides are to that. The more aggressive you get, the more likely you are to lose lean body mass. And the harder it is going to be for you to maintain that body weight loss once it's over, because you're going to lower your metabolic rate more because of the more aggressive calorie deficit. So once we have this, like for example, 0.5% at this level of body fat loss per week, or body weight loss per week, we can then calculate a calorie deficit. Now I have my own proprietary formula for calculating this that's in my book, but basically, this would equate to just around a 500 kcal deficit. So that would mean if I wanted to lose, on average, around a half kilo a week, like this, I would need to take my training day calories down to about 27 to 2800, and my non-training days down to about 22 to 2300 calories, okay? So I would have managed to calculate my deficit and my average calories, right? So on average, it's probably around 2,500. Let's just say for the sake of argument. How do I distribute those calories, right? Now we have our protein, carbs, and fats that we need to figure out. Well, protein can be anywhere from 1.8 to around 2.8 grams per kilogram lean body mass. Okay? So if we have somebody who's about, let's say, 85 kilos of lean body mass, or let's just be easy for the sake of not doing so much math. Let's say they were 90 kilos of lean body mass. And they wanted to hit 2 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. So that would put them at 180 grams of protein per day. What if they wanted to go up to 2.5? Well, break out my grade school arithmetic. So this works out to 225 grams of protein per day, all right? So that's how I wanted to do that, all right? Once you get, people want to argue about this sort of stuff. Listen, I did a PhD in protein metabolism. I wanted to find a way to eat more protein more frequently. And when I left my PhD program, I ate less protein and ate it less frequently, okay? Most bodybuilders overconsume protein. But if you want to go all the way up to 2.8 grams per kilo of lean body mass, you're certainly not going to harm yourself doing that. But you have to balance that out with, you're going to be eating less carbohydrates and fats if you do that. And once you get above 2.2, 2.4 grams per kilo of lean body mass, you're not getting additional anabolic benefits from that. So let's say I wanted to be safe and I wanted to go 2.5 grams per kilogram lean body mass, and I had 90 kilos of lean body mass. So this is not exactly what I have right now, I'm a little bit lower than that. But that would put me at 225 grams of protein per day. Since protein is 4 calories per gram, that equates to 900 calories from protein, okay? We can then subtract that from our daily average deficit. So we minus 900, we have 1,600 calories left over for carbohydrates and fats. There is a lot of debate about this out there, but based on the plethora of scientific evidence that we have, when calories and protein are equated, distribution of carbohydrate and fat does not matter with regards to body composition. What that says is, do whatever you prefer, okay? For me, I like a breakdown of about 55, so for this remaining calories, I like a breakdown of about 55-45. So I like about 55% of those calories to come from carbohydrate and 45% to come to fat. For somebody who is doing an average of 2,500 calories a day and who wanted that much protein, at 225, 220 carb, and 80 fat. So there you go. There's your average daily macros. Now, do you want to do something like refeeds? Do you want to do something like high calorie days? You don't have to. The data out there suggests that calorie cycling does not make a difference on fat loss if the overall amount of calories throughout the week are equated. There are several studies on this. They show that at least when you're talking about 1 or 2 high carb days that are spread out, it doesn't seem to make a difference. However, if you prefer that, if it helps you to have that carrot on the end of the stick psychologically, which does me, I like to have a higher calorie day for my harder training sessions, then that's fine to do. So let's say this person wanted to do 1 higher calorie day per week. They said, you know what, I'm going to chop 20 grams of carbohydrate off this. If there's 6 days a week where they're having 20 grams less carbohydrate, that's 120 grams they could put extra towards 1 day, right? So that could put them at 320 grams of CHO on their high day if they ate 200 every other day. Now what if they wanted to do 2 high days a week? They could go down to 180, and then they could have 2 high days, okay? You can also play with your macros a little bit. I usually take my protein down by about 10% on my high calorie days. So I take that down. The reason for that being is that calories are protein sparing, so when you have more calories, you don't require as much protein, okay? So we can take this down to there. That means we could actually add those 25 grams back into carbohydrate, and now we would have 2 times per week at 345 grams CHO. There's a million ways you can set this up, but basically you're trying to get back to this average week daily number, and how you distribute that during the week is up to you. You could do 2 really high calorie days at 4,000, but you'd have to adjust the other days to compensate for that, okay? Again, this is something I talk about in depth in my book, and I spell it all out, and there's charts and tables, and it shows you how to easily do that. The other thing with notes of protein is that as you age, you tend to require more protein. In fact, based on my regression analysis of the data out there that's available, after age 30, it looks like your protein requirements to maximize anabolism go up by about 1.5% per year after age 30. And again, I talk about this in my book in depth. We talked about refeeds, diet breaks. This boils down to how fast you want to lose fat. In the Matador study that I talk about, and I'll put a link to this as well, they do a 2-week diet with a 2-week diet break, okay? And they showed those people had more efficient fat loss per week of dieting, okay? But it still took them longer to lose the same amount of fat as a group dieting 16 weeks straight, okay? It's up to you. I think diet breaks are very useful. Now, maybe you don't have to go 2 on, 2 off. Maybe you could go 2 on and then 1 week diet break. Or 3 weeks diet, 2 week diet break. We don't know. We don't know what the best protocol is. I'm experimenting with some different things with clients. But basically, when you're on a diet break, you are going to go back to your maintenance calories. Okay? Now keep in mind, as you diet, as you go through a diet, your maintenance calories are going to change. Because as we talked about in the first episode, your RMR, your NEAT, your exercise activity adaptation, those rates are going to go down because your metabolism adapts to lowered calories. So you're going to have to recalculate your maintenance during each diet break based on how much weight you lost during your diet phase. Okay? Again, something I talk about in great detail in my new book that's coming out. But you could do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You could do 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You could do 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. 2 weeks on, 1 week off. 1 week on, 1 week off. We don't know what the best protocol is. What I can say is we do know that 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off seems to work. But if you're somebody who has to lose, say, 40 kilos, you're very overweight, this could take you well over a year. But the benefit is that once you lose it, you are much more likely to keep it off. You're much more likely to maintain your lean body mass. What I can tell you is I think patience makes the biggest difference. The people who lose body fat and keep it off are the people who are patient and diligent and who make good habits. Okay? I'm going to throw some numbers at you right now that hopefully help you understand why it's important to think about the long term. The rates of diet relapse are, within 1 year of people losing weight, over 70% relapse to their pre-diet weight. Within 2 years, 85% relapse. And within 3 years, what is that? Apparently, that number is over 95% relapse. Diets fail 95% of the time. The 5%, less than 5% of people are successful at keeping weight off. In fact, of these people, 1/3 to 2/3 will add more. 1/3 to 2/3 of these people will add back on more weight than they lost in the first place. They're going to be worse off. If you want to lose fat and do it right, take your time. Here's what these people have in common. The 5% who are successful. They practice self-monitoring. They make good habits. They don't rely on willpower. They make good habits. They make good choices. They do something that is sustainable to their lifestyle. Whatever diet you're on, you have to be able to maintain that for the rest of your life if you want to keep. I'm not saying necessarily maintain low calories. I'm saying the style of dieting that you're using, you have to be able to maintain that. Okay? So if you're doing keto, if you can't see yourself never eating carbs again, don't do keto. If you can, great, go for it. It's certainly not going to harm you based on the data. And then go slow, be diligent, and think about the diet after the diet. Most people fail because they don't think about the diet after the diet. All right, guys, I wish you best of luck. If you're interested in my new book that's specifically on contest prep but talks about fat loss in great detail, this book is unbelievable. There's nothing out there like it. It's called The Complete Guide to Contest Prep, or The Complete Contest Prep Guide. And it's over 300 pages, or we don't know exactly the final page count, but it's going to be around over 300 pages. And it takes all the guesswork out of it for you. So if you want something like that, if you'd like to check out a free chapter, you can actually click the link below, sign up for a free chapter, and for the pre-sale list. Thanks for watching my series on how fat loss works. I hope it's been helpful for you. If you like this video, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, And I'll catch you guys next time to drop some knowledge.